For a brief time, I worked at a restaurant in Chicago that changed its menu every few months. I'm sure that you've seen it parodied. It's not the type of restaurant I would choose to eat at because I don't like to eat foam, but the owner is respectable, and after graduating college, I needed a job. When I worked there, the name of the menu was The Hunt. It involved foraging and catching, and the place settings were just as elaborate as the names of the food. The first item on the menu was called Hen of the Woods, smoked spruce, grapefruit, pepperberry. Second was Catch of the Great Lakes, followed by charcuterie, 5 pieces of meat served on a big log instead of a plate. The log had been whittled to have 5 little indentations for the meats: a rabbit terrine with a purple condiment grape musk, an elk jerky, wild boar salumi, deer heart tartare, and blood sausage. Cellar-aged carrots and onions came on another gorgeous handmade plate. The carrot was preserved and dried in sawdust, then served with a dehydrated carrot, some fried carrot tops, fried onion, and carrot and veal jus. Then we have duck tongue, cider vinegar, apparently the hunter's version of bacon and eggs. Sturgeon and caviar, quince bay satsuma, had an intricate plating. The first, larger gold-rimmed plate sat beneath a folded napkin upon which sat a smaller gold-rimmed plate. The actual food was butter-poached sturgeon, smashed and fried sunchoke, spruce oil, and caviar on a big bed of beurre blanc. Woodcock jolie, bare root urfa prickly pear was a roulade of woodcock and napa cabbage and bitter chocolate, berries, black truffle, hazelnut, and topped with gold leaf on another gold-rimmed plate. In case the diners weren't yet stuffed, the main course was pressed squab. This was an entire squab, the breast, leg, and brains with breadcrumbs served in the split head, a wonton filled with organs, and a pressé with cognac. And on the side, you'd get a bowl of steel-cut oats with squab jus and bacon fat and the roasted back and wings. Fallen leaves and kidney was served on a thin piece of birch bark. Bison and béarnaise included 2 thin slices of pink bison meat that the guests would cook themselves on a hot rock. And we're not done yet. Dessert began marrow brulee, beet blood orange prune, a kind of sweet version of bone marrow that was served in the bone. Maris otter included a cast iron skillet filled with barley risotto pudding that you could mix 5 condiments into and make your own kind of sweet, savory, grainy oatmeal. But the real crowd pleaser was the final showstopper, tia drable. A big trough of crushed ice would appear in the center of the table, at which point the server would come by with a silver pitcher of a sort of warm maple syrup and bourbon mixture and pour thin strands of it down the center of the ice. The guests would then take the sticks and roll them up the syrup to get all the sides coated with the taffy, which would cling on the top for all to enjoy. The use of the word soigné was something I was not prepared for. Not prepared to use, not prepared to hear, and not prepared to have anything to do with. Every night there were guests who were considered soignés. That just meant they were VIPs in some way, or an industry insider, or a friend of the chef. And everything in the restaurant strived to be soigné. Not only did they strive to be soigné, they liked to talk about how soigné it was, or how soigné it wasn't. And if it wasn't soigné, how could it become soigné? Holding more than 2 coats at once? Not soigné. Holding the door for a guest? Soigné. Soigné was used so frequently, I never knew if they were being serious about its use. They were. And I never used it. I was never trained to need to use it, nor was I trained to answer to any chef there with oui. We weren't in France, nor was it a French restaurant, nor were any of the chefs French. I was never trained nor given any information regarding the restaurant or the ingredients or the process of creating the menus. I never knew anyone's name in the kitchen besides the main chef, and I never knew what was going to happen. I truly dreaded coming to work every day. I couldn't stand the idea that I had to go into this dark restaurant and watch people eat off a piece of bark and lick a stick after I hot glue gunned a feather to their menu. I thought I might be able to tough it out. The money was good and I liked a hostess who I worked with, but I knew not so deep down that I had to get out of there. The final straw came toward the end of my shift one night. The chef yelled at me, like spit flying in my face yelled, for explaining incorrectly to some guests something about the golden plates. I couldn't care less if it had been personal or not, but in the few weeks before I walked out the door for the last time, I was treated better. The chef who had yelled started calling me by name, acknowledging me, asking me to help him set up his VIP tables in the room in the basement. It was like I had survived some sort of hazing, but I still couldn't shake the bad feelings I had. So as I walked out the unmarked door for the last time, I ran to a small French restaurant nearby and ordered what I craved. I did not want to look at any food being served on a piece of bark, nor a bunch of golden plates or ice and sticks. I ordered a big, regular roast chicken and a glass of whiskey, and immediately felt more soigné than ever before.